Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Okay, so I guess this is going from a headline to now probably one of the biggest scandals of the decade. And that's of course not to diminish the initial headline or reporting on this issue. No, I guess more so what I'm trying to say is that it just got real. You know, it's one thing when there's rumors, reports, or suggestions that something might be happening. It's another when it's actually confirmed and the scandal gets fully exposed for everybody to see. And that right there is exactly where we're at on this one. Today we're covering one of the most disgusting scandals in American history. I'm sure you guys have heard the reports before that the Biden administration, supposedly in their 4 years of ushering in a horrible humanitarian border crisis, had supposedly lost track of over 300,000 kids that were illegally smuggled across the border. And yes, you heard that correct. 300,000 missing children just vanishing poof into thin air. No accountability, no explanation, and no answers. Children who possibly could be trafficked or in unimaginably horrible situations. Well, we know the left has tried really hard to bury this story, but there's no running away from this anymore, as the Trump administration, less than a week in, has supposedly found 75,000 of these lost children. I guess there was merit to the story after all, and this now officially cements Joe Biden's legacy as one of complete and utter failure, disaster, and of course tragedy. Let me show you guys exactly how bad it really is. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so let's first start off with the reporting coming from Harris Faulkner at Fox News. Take a look.
Now the second wave that Tom Home and the borders are for Trump has told me about in all of this will focus on those missing children, hundreds of thousands of them that we know. And that number has started to already come down, Emily, from 300,000. So they've found about 75 to 80,000 of those kids already. If they can get the list of these guys, 4 full days in office for Trump, if they can get the list of where some of those kids have been and they've been identifying it, you know, since the election, going after them and trying to find those little ones, what in the world was Biden's administration doing? What was Secretary of Homeland Mayorkas doing when he said to the committees on Capitol Hill, we don't know where those kids are, I'll look into it? No, dude, you obviously had a better way to find them, and you didn't do your job. I can't believe they impeached him and didn't remove him.
Holy frickin' moly. I mean, what the heck were these leftoids in the Biden administration doing for the last 4 years? Seems like the answer is nothing good. And now we've got the Trump administration actively cleaning up the mess left behind by this last administration that couldn't be bothered to handle one of the most critical humanitarian crises in modern American history. I'm absolutely disgusted, and frankly, what I find the most despicable is how the Democrats and their media lapdogs have downplayed, excused, and outright ignored this tragedy for a while now. Like I alluded to in the intro, this report has been going around for a while, and it should have been a major red flag, a cause for concern, but clearly the left made their priorities quite clear. They put politics over children, which is peak moral bankruptcy coming from the people who supposedly have a monopoly when it comes to morality and compassion. But as I said, the media pundits have downplayed this crisis at the border, and they attempted to bury this story months ago. Here's your prime example with disgraced reporter Rachel Maddow back in 2024 smugly dismissing the border concern.
A state of emergency is officially now in effect on the border. Does it feel like an emergency where you are standing?
Feels no different than 20 minutes ago or 30 minutes ago or an hour ago when we got here early this morning, Rachel. The one practical change that we do know that has gone into effect here is that CBP One app that was put into place by the Biden administration, part of their effort, stated effort to have a more fair, safe, humane, orderly process at the border, has been discontinued by the Trump administration and President Trump.
Absolutely despicable, and the hypocrisy here is this is coming from the same people who went on and on about the kids, right? The kids in cages. Remember when Rachel Maddow literally cried on air over a made-up scandal during the Trump administration, using Obama-era pictures of kids in cages at the southern border to launch this big moral controversy?
Trump administration officials have been sending babies and other young children to at least three tender age shelters in South Texas. Lawyers and medical providers just, I think I'm going to have to hand this off. Yeah.
And actually, funnily enough, the same media pundit that was in the Rachel Maddow clip from earlier at one point went to a Trump rally trying to catch the Trump brothers in a series of gotcha questions about border separation policies, trying to make it seem like Donald Trump's the one who had a failed border policy.
What is that change going to look like, Don? What practically, your father as president, I think you would even say, was a divisive figure. What's it going to look like in the second term?
I don't think he was a divisive figure at all. I think the media created divisiveness around him. They lied about Russia collusion. They said he was a traitor. They went after him in every which way as possible. If the media actually starts being an honest broker, talking about the things that he did, the prosperity he brought, the peace deals that he signed around the world, rather than the disaster that we're living right now, I think you'd do everyone in the country a big favor.
I know immigration's important to him. I covered the family separation crisis closely. Will we continue to see policies like separating 5,000 children deliberately from their parents?
You mean the Obama administration?
You know they didn't do that, sir.
Okay, sure.
Will there be a second family separation policy?
The kids, right? Democrats always grandstanding on the kids, but when it actually came to protecting the children, the Democrats were MIA. Like I said earlier, morally bankrupt. And that's really the deepest point of hypocrisy here. They made this big deal about Trump separating parents from their supposed children, but that policy was put in place to prevent this exact kind of humanitarian disaster. Under Donald Trump, children were separated from the adults at the southern border because illegal migrants and criminal organizations were using them in their trafficking operations. And don't just take it from me, take it from U.S. Border Commissioner Mark Morgan. This is a little snippet from cbp.gov. Mark Morgan explained the role of transnational criminal organizations in driving the surge of illegal migration. Illegal aliens were coached, mentored, and given what to say by the cartels and the human smuggling organizations. You grab a kid, and that essentially is your U.S. passport, said Morgan. That will guarantee you entry into the United States, and guess what? They were right. Holy frickin' moly, I mean, there you have it. That's why you separate children at the border. It's to protect them from human trafficking. But of course, just the usual display of the left being a bunch of incompetent frickin' morons who clearly don't understand how the world works or don't really care because politics sits in the front seat. And the result, of course, is ruining children's lives in the process. Remember AOC's crocodile tears photo op at the border? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez crying in front of a fence because she saw a Ford F-150 parked in a parking lot. Oh, the horror. Crocodile frickin' tears to build a false narrative, and of course to drum up all this sympathy. And I'll tell you, all that sympathy and that narrative that they built up, because of those kind of activist stunts, look what we ended up with. Over 300,000 missing children. Hundreds of thousands of missing kids that Tom Homan tells us during the Biden administration, ICE wasn't even looking for. They were directed not to.
Many of these children are living with predators.
Yes.
Some of these children are in forced trade and forced labor. And no one's even looking for them. In my sources at ICE, no one's even looking for them. So I make you this promise. When President Trump's president again, we will go rescue these children and save them.
I asked Donald Trump in my interview with him that I had with Pete and Will at Bedminster, asked him directly, would you locate these children? Will you promise to find the children that the Biden administration has lost? And he told me straight up, that's easy. Absolutely, yes. One last thing I want to note. When you were in charge of Homeland Security and Border Patrol, there was a letter sent by Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, and Laura Bush, all three of them, saying, we're so upset. We're writing this letter to defend the children, to fight for the children that Donald Trump has separated at the border. Where are they now? Shame on them. I appreciate you joining us, Tom. It's really great to have you. And thank you for bringing attention to this very important topic.
It's just absolutely disgusting. I mean, I don't know what else to say. And really, it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks to see how Joe Biden and the rest of these Democrat goons try to spin their way out of this one. I mean, this should be the story that buries the Democrat Party. But at this point, honestly, I've given up hope on the idea that leftoids will ever come to grips with reality or ever really face consequences for the damage and chaos that they create. I mean, holy crap, they lost 300,000 migrant children. That's not just bad governance anymore, folks. That's not just leftist hypocrisy. That is straight up evil. I mean, we're not talking about politics anymore. We're talking about basic human decency and protecting the most vulnerable among us. Well, some people may think I'm being hyperbolic, but this is just truly how I feel. It's my reaction. When we're talking about basic human decency, it seems like that's something the Democrats abandoned long ago. This story is absolutely sick, but I guess the silver lining, if we're to, apply a glass half full approach, at least we now have a competent administration that's actually doing something about it. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.